Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Acelord. I do RPG challenge runs, and today we're going to be tier listing the Kingdom Hearts series party members. This is only going to be Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, and 3. It gets pretty difficult to tier list stuff like Dream Eaters and like Chain of Memories party members because they have very different mechanics to them, so they kind of belong in their own tier list for their individual games. For the main line, though, I think for the most part we can judge all the party members against each other because they they're implemented to serve basically the same purpose in all three games. So we have S, A, B, C, and F. F is for the worst of the worst. S is for the best of the best. B is average, A is above average, C is below average. Starting off, we have Kh1 Donald and Goofy. Goofy is S tier. I mean, this, like, you don't even have to think about this. He is both offensively and supportively, I mean, arguably the best in the entire series. He might stay at the top of S. Offensively, he's super OP. Goofy Tornado in Kingdom Hearts 1 can solo bosses. Goofy can solo Final Ansem. That's how strong he is offensively. And then, not to mention, he has MP Gift. And MP Gift is so OP that they nerfed it in the remakes, and it's still way too strong. It's basically the best supportive ability in the entire game. Arguably the best ability general in the entire series. It's just insane, especially for a party member. It's better than healing, you know, he sacrifices 2 of his MP to give you 3. Both offensively and supportively, just so overpowered and, yeah, game-changing. He can beat fights on his own, he offers support with MP Gift in fights where other party members would be useless. It's actually, he's so good. If you know, you know. Donald! This is a tough one to rank, actually. I think he's probably above average. He heals, and he has arrow. He has offensive magic like Thunder, Fire, which is okay. It's actually pretty good. I think where it's hard to rank Donald in Kingdom Hearts 1 is because he can sometimes be a little bit problematic. Mainly with stop and gravity. He can kind of mess you up in some fights. And for that, like, he kind of pushes him down, but also he has heal. Anything that can heal you is automatically above average, because healing from a party member is very good support. But Donald has some things holding him back that, like, he is kind of annoying sometimes with, just with stop and gravity, just the advanced magic. Everything else he does pretty well, and I think one issue with Kingdom Hearts 1 Donald, it's kind of a meme that he never heals you, but that's not true. He does heal you. His heals are actually super consistent. In situations he will heal Sora, and in situations he will heal Goofy or himself. He always will. He's very consistent in when he heals under certain situations, but what makes him kind of inconsistent in that note is that he dies so easily. So his inconsistency just comes from being dead a lot, which makes it difficult for him to heal, or getting hit into critical HP so much that he has to heal himself so many times that he runs out of MP. And so yeah, it's kind of like a meme that Donald doesn't heal, and he does heal. But yeah, I mean, he's just very weak defensively in fights, which causes him to run his MP out healing or be dead and can't heal. You know, one error from Donald is pretty fight changing. Like, it has a big impact. If Donald arrows you in the middle of a fight, you're like, yes. But it's kind of his arrows are inconsistent. Like, you can't really force him to arrow you. It's kind of random. So yeah, he's definitely above average as a party member. He's not as bad as some people meme him out to be, but he's also not, you know, he's not game-changingly strong like Goofy. Next up, we have Tarzan, the first ally party member from Kingdom Hearts 1, and he's definitely A tier, and I think he's probably better than Donald. Tarzan is so good. I mean, I think a lot of people know, like, he has heals, which automatically puts him above average, but he's also got error, which we've already talked about with Donald. Getting your party member to throw error on you is huge, and if you want him to be super consistent, you can take off his other abilities, so the only option he has is to heal you. You can kind of turn him into a heal bot, which makes him even more consistent than Donald as a support. He also doesn't die as much as Donald. Offensively, he's not too bad either. So, like, I think Tarzan, he's definitely better than Donald in terms of just being a really good support heal bot. Good all-around party member, and then on top of that, he's so good at healing, and he has error. Yeah, he's insane. Like, you want to take off his Raging Boar attack, because that can be kind of annoying and knock enemies away, but as long as you take that ability off, he's so strong. He's a very, very useful party member. Definitely above average. Definitely better than Donald, in my opinion. Moving on to Agrabah Aladdin. So, Aladdin, this is Kingdom Hearts 1 Aladdin. Aladdin, I think, you could argue average. The thing about Aladdin is that he just does so much damage. Offensively, like, supportively, he does nothing, but, like, offensively, he does a lot. Like, a lot. For context, typically one attack from Aladdin is basically the equivalent of a full Sora combo of damage, which is kind of insane. I think he's A tier. I think he's above average. Offensively, he's so strong. In all the fights you have Aladdin for, he's super impactful, right? Like, whether you're good at the game or bad, he's gonna have an impact on your Jafar fight. He's gonna have an impact on your Genie Jafar fight. Like, he's gonna make both fights quicker, more consistent. He does a lot of damage. He's useful. He's definitely. I think he might even be better than Donald, just because offensively he does so much damage in this game. Like, you can definitely feel his impact, and he's better than Donald. Like, in Agrabah, one way to kind of rank these people too is, like, are they better than Donald and Goofy in the world you have them? Aladdin is better than Donald in Agrabah when you get access to Aladdin. Tarzan is better than Goofy in Deep Jungle when you get access to Tarzan. So that's a great way to figure out, like, if they're actually above average, is are they better options than Donald and Goofy in the world where you have them? And Aladdin definitely is. So I think he's A tier. Peter Pan's a tough one. Some people would want him probably pretty low. I think he's average. The problem with Peter Pan is that while offensively he's actually pretty strong, he does a lot of damage with Hummingbird especially. His timeout stop ability can be kind of annoying. He, I think, has access to error as well, but I mean, he's typically going to be throwing that on himself. That's actually the same with Tarzan. Tarzan's always pretty much going to error himself. But that's kind of good, because he won't die and he can heal you more. Peter Pan, I think what a lot of people have issue with him is that when he hummingbirds, he does a lot of damage, but he also carries enemies away from you, so he can be kind of disruptive. Like, he can be disruptive to the point of being F tier. F tier are, like, detrimental party members. Peter Pan can do that. Like, but he's also very strong in his damage. Like, Hummingbird does a lot of damage, just it's kind of awkward how it knocks enemies away. It's kind of, I think he's average. I don't think he's that bad. I don't think he's as bad as some people think he is. Like, in the beginner speedrun, for example, we do just take off all his abilities, so he can't be a nuisance to us, and we just let him throw ethers at us. But on level 1, and I think on some other difficulties, and in challenge runs, I would keep his abilities on. If you're stopping Hook and you're stopping the pirate ships, and he hummingbirds into them, he does so much damage. So yeah, he can kind of, he's not amazing, he's not game changing, he's not a great party member, but I also don't think he's that bad. I think he's just average. Alright, now for a party member that isn't average, Jack Skellington. He's definitely below average. Jack sucks. He's just bad. The only really good thing about him that makes him good is cheer, and it literally only makes him good if you're playing on level 1, and it's not good enough to make him good. You know, the fact that he has cheer. The fact that he has cheer makes him not F, I think, because, like, I mean, if you're not on level 1, you're just not going to use Jack, ever. Like, he is not good. But also, I think he's not F, because he's not detrimental. Like, having him in the party isn't going to hurt you, but there's just a lot better party members, and he's not as good as Donald and Goofy, even. So yeah, I think C is below average, is good for Jack. Okay, on to Ariel. This one's a interesting one. I actually think she's S tier. This is probably gonna be controversial, but she's so good. Like, I think she's underrated as heck. When people started playing randomizer for Kingdom Hearts 1, and they had to do Atlantica, because I know a lot of people casually don't do Atlantica a lot of the time, or they don't try and do it efficiently. When the competitive rando scene started to happen for this game, I started telling people, like, hey, like, use Ariel in Atlantica, and they're like, oh, really? Is she good? And then they started using her, and they're like, oh, damn, she's so strong. And she is so strong. Like, she is here for the same reasons Goofy is S tier. She, supportively, is very good. She has healing, she has arrow, two things that we've already talked about with a couple other characters that are just so impactful in combat. And, like, she's as good as Tarzan, supportively, and offensively, like, almost as good as Goofy. Like, Tornado is better than, Spiral Swim, whatever it's called, but not by much. Ariel, offensively, can pull off pretty much the same stuff Goofy can. The same, like, unbelievable damage output. Offensively, I think she's only worse than Goofy. Offensively, she's so powerful. She can single-handedly win fights for you. You feel her impact offensively and supportively. Like, healing and damage, she's so overpowered. She is S tier for sure. Like, if we had her for fights outside of Atlantica, she would do so much work. And, like, you can't say that about everyone. And she's better than Donald when you get to Atlantica. Arguably even better than Goofy. Like, I would always use Ariel in Atlantica. She's actually so powerful. Next up, another S tier. Kingdom Hearts 1 party members are just so good. Beast. Beast can single-handedly one-shot an entire mob fight in Hollow Bastion. Need I say more? He's basically like a pocket Simba, which is a really good summon already. Like, offensively, he's not good in the only boss fight you have him for, but that's also Behemoth, and really no party member would really be that helpful in that fight. Like, Goofy is, because MP gift, but, like, just for, like, trying to, like, have offensive impact, that fight is such an awkward fight for really anyone, any party member to be useful in. So for Beast, like, outside of the one boss fight where he doesn't do a whole lot, he's so powerful, dude. He just one-shots everything. Kingdom Hearts 1 doesn't have a lot of crowd control, right? It doesn't have a lot of ways of clearing out mob fights, which is why Simba's such a high-tier summon, in my opinion. Beast is basically, he's an S-tier party member for the same reason. He just one-shots mob fights. Just, like, need I say more? He's arguably the strongest. I think he's arguably the strongest optional party member in the game. I think Ariel's better because I think the fights she helps in are harder fights. Ariel's good in every fight she's in. Like, Ariel is good for all her boss fights she's involved in. She's good for just clearing out Heartless. She's just good. Beast is good, but I think Ariel is better. Alright, moving on to Kingdom Hearts 2. Kingdom Hearts 2, you've probably already noticed that Kingdom Hearts 1 is very top-heavy up here, because the party members in Kingdom Hearts 1 are incredibly powerful, in my opinion. Kingdom Hearts 2 less so. Donald and Goofy from Kingdom Hearts 2. Okay, so this is where things get interesting, because Donald I mean, he's definitely S tier, and he's definitely potentially better than Goofy. I don't know. So the thing about Donald is Kingdom Hearts 2 is such a balanced game. And the least balanced thing in the game, the thing that is the least balanced, is Duck Flare. Duck Flare is so powerful. Like, it's the least balanced thing in the entire game, and you only have access to it through Donald. His other limit, Comet, is also so powerful. Having Donald in your party gives you Wisdom Form. Trinity Limit, when you have Donald and Goofy, is also so powerful. It trivializes Hydra. It makes mob fights so easy. Like, ah. And, like, Duck Flare is so game breaking. It's kind of insane. Like, Goofy is so strong in Kingdom Hearts 1, but Donald, I think, Kingdom Hearts 2 Donald, I think, is arguably stronger or just as strong. It's tough. It's tough. Like, I could go either way, honestly, with Donald or Goofy being the top of S. I thought that was, it's tough. It's tough, because I wasn't sure if I thought Goofy might stay at the top of S, because Kingdom Hearts 1 Goofy's so strong. But Kingdom Hearts 2 Donald is also just insanely powerful. Like, he has so much impact. Damn, how do you pick? I'm gonna have Donald at the top here, I think. Donald just makes hard fights easy. And so I think Goofy's really good too, but like Donald heals. Healing is so good. In the early game, he throws out pretty strong offensive magic. His fire helps with stuff like Demix. Man, there's so much good about Donald. I think he's the best party member in the series. I actually do. Like, he just gives you so much, like Wisdom Form, free really powerful limits. I think it's got to be Donald at the top of S. Alright, Kingdom Hearts 2 Goofy. This one's kind of hard. I think he's probably better than Pan, maybe probably average. Like, his Goofy Tornado is way less good in Kingdom Hearts 2 than it is in Kingdom Hearts 1. But it's still really good. Like, it's good for certain fights, like Demix, Zaldin. I think his limits are pretty good. Knock Smash was insane, but then they nerfed it in Final Mix. And Whirly Goof is really strong as well as a limit, but you already have so many good mob clearing options in Kingdom Hearts 2. Like, you have a lot of crowd control. So Whirly Goof kind of gets outclassed, I think. Like, gets outclassed by Trinity Limit, which Goofy also gives you. He also gives you Valor Form when you have Goofy as a party member. So yeah, I mean, he's probably A tier. Dude, I know we're like stacking up the high tiers a lot here, but I mean, all these party members are just so impactful. I think Kingdom Hearts 2 Goofy is really good. Like, Goofy Tornado, it pales in comparison to Kingdom Hearts 1's Goofy Tornado, but he has good limits. I think he's above average. That or he's the top of average. Like, the top of B, or he's A. I think Kingdom Hearts 2 Goofy probably belongs in A. Yeah, I think he's really good. I don't know if he should be below or above Donald. That's kind of a tough one. Kingdom Hearts 1 Donald's probably better, I think. Okay, Ping is F tier. Ping is F tier. Why is Ping F tier? F tier is for detrimental party members. Why is Ping detrimental? Because Ping takes up a party member slot. If we could use both Donald and Goofy in LOD, man, imagine that. Going into Valor form, having Donald throw out thunders and fires and heal you. Like, that would be cool. But no, we have to use Ping. And Ping doesn't do anything. Ping's not a good party member. Ping runs around and it just has no impact. Like, Ping is a detrimental party member just for the sheer fact that we're forced to have Ping in the party, and Ping takes up a party member's slot that could be going to someone more useful, like Donald or Goofy. So I think Ping is definitely F tier. Mulan is at least average. I think she's better than Pan. She's quite impactful. Her limit is really good. Red Rocket. Most people are going to LOD before Olympus Coliseum, so they don't have Trinity limit. In which case, Red Rocket is basically, a good limit for clearing out a bunch of enemies. It's good for Shan Yu. It's good for the pre-Shan Yu fight. Mulan is a good party member. I think she's average. Oh, she's good though. I feel like I can't put everyone in A tier. I think Mulan is probably the top of B tier. She's not a bad party member. She's not like that good, but she's good. Alright, Beast. Kingdom Hearts 2 Beast. Kingdom Hearts 2 Beast I think is definitely A tier. Possibly better than a few people here. Beast is what Kingdom Hearts 2 Beast does is offensively just on his own. He does a lot in the past fights he's in. Darkthorn is a very awkward fight, and you wouldn't think a lot of party members would be very useful, but Beast finds a way to be useful. Like his rush attack into the chandelier, his roar does good damage. His limit is so OP, like like just Beast on his own does good damage, and he's a good party member. But then you take his limit into account. His limit is one of the strongest in the game. It's good for mob fights. It pulls all the enemies in, does a lot of damage to them. It's good for boss fights. It's good for single target. It's just a good limit. It's actually insane. Beast is definitely an A-tier party member. I think he might be better than Goofy. I think he might be better than Aladdin just because he does a lot of damage and he's impactful, and then he has his limit, which is really game breaking, really fight changing. It's so strong. I think Tarzan is still such a consistent support for a pretty difficult early world, to the point where I think Tarzan's better. I mean, Beast Castle is a difficult early world for Kh2 as well, and Beast does help. I think he belongs here, just behind Tarzan. Okay, Oren. Oren is at least average. He's good. He's probably better than Mulan, just because just having him in the party, he just does a lot of damage. Like Divider, just kills Heartless. Like the main fights you have Oren for are Hades Escape, Cerberus, and then I guess you have him for Hades later, right? But the main ones are like Hades Escape and Cerberus, and so Divider does a lot in Hades Escape. Actually, some people, because Batcry is such a powerful reaction command, some people turn Divider off, like take the ability off Oren, because he's so strong. He's just gonna kill all the bats almost instantly, and you won't be able to get any of those Batcry reaction commands. So, like, the fact that they have to take that off is a testament to how strong he actually is. And then you bring into account his limit. His limit is so good. At a point in the game where you don't have a lot of crowd control options still, like, he pulls all the enemies in, he does a lot of damage, and then at the end, he knocks them all away. So, you're at critical HP, you go into an Oren limit, you crowd control everything, and at the end, he pushes everything away with the finisher, so you have an opportunity, like, breathing room to heal. Hades is there, which is annoying, but, I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. Oren is very good. He's very good. Oh, man, everyone's going in A tier. I think Oren at least belongs in B, maybe the top of B. I think he's better than Mulan. He's a really good party member. I think his limit isn't quite as overpowered as Beast. And yeah, I mean, Oren also heals, right? He has healing water. Dude, actually, yeah, any party member that heals is above average. Like, 100%. His limits are good, he heals. He's A tier. I don't know why I even debated. A tier is just getting so inflated that it's I kind of I like want to try and even out the tier list a bit, but I mean any party member that heals has to be above average because it's healing is so good. All right, Kingdom Hearts 2 Jack. I mean he's at least he's at least A, but I think he's S. Kingdom Hearts 2 Jack has one of the most powerful limits in the game, Dance Call. Dance Call trivializes a lot of fights. Similarly to why Goofy is S tier and why Donald is S tier. Dance Call on its own can solo mob fights. It can pretty much solo boss fights, like Prison Keeper, a couple dance calls and he's dead. Like, it's that strong. It's so insane. Like, Dance Call is, you know, it's not as busted as Duck Flower, but it kind of is. You just don't have access to it for as many fights. The fights you do have access to it for, like, it's good on Oogie, it's good on Prison Keeper, it's good on really every fight. Every fight where you have access to it, I think it's good. It's good for the Presence fight. Like, it's good for LSB. Like, oh man. Yeah, Jack is S tier. Kingdom Hearts 2 Jack is, you know, so much better than Kingdom Hearts 1 Jack. Dance Call is insane. Alright, Kingdom Hearts 2 Aladdin. He's definitely average, maybe below average. He's kind of detrimental because you get Reflect. Basically, at the same time you get Aladdin. And at this point, you kind of just want him to, you know, you kind of just want to set him to Sora attack and just have him, like, just stand there and do nothing. Kind of like what we do with Peter Pan in Kingdom Hearts 1, where we want to just, you know, make it so he can't really mess the fight up for us. Kingdom Hearts 2 Aladdin's kind of like that. You want to be able to reflect stuff. His attacks, you know, hit a large area and knock stuff around, and it's kind of disruptive to a lot of fights. His limit is not that good. Yeah, it's really not that good. You get Comet, like, shortly afterwards, so you're never really gonna use his limit. You already have Trinity limit by the time you're going to Agrabah, because it's like a second ring world. Yeah, I really think Aladdin's below average. Kingdom Hearts 2 Aladdin. He's probably better than Jack, I guess. He's just really not that good. Yeah, he's just really not good. I think he's C tier. Okay, Kingdom Hearts 2 Jack, F. For a couple reasons. He has one of the worst limits in the game. It's just, it's like, it's not useless. It's not that, it's bad. Like, it's not as bad as people think, but, like, by the time you get Jack, you have Goofy Tornado, you have, you know, crowd control options. You don't really need to use Jack's limit. And, yeah, it's just not that good. The reason he's an F is because every fight you have Jack for, he's really not that impactful, and then he's detrimental in the Barbossa fight. Completely detrimental, because he can die, which is kind of a mechanic of the fight and not really why Jack is a bad party member, but we already put ping down here because of a mechanic in the game where we're forced to use ping, and I think it's fair to put Jack down here. He's just not helpful, really. And so, yeah, he belongs in F tier. He's more detrimental. He's not as bad as Ping. I guess he can do some damage and stuff, but he really doesn't. I don't know. I think he's really bad. I think he's not worse than Ping. He's not, but he's definitely F tier. Okay, Tron. Tron, I think, is fairly average. The issue with Tron is that while his limit is really good, by the time you get Tron in Kingdom Hearts 2, you have Comet on Donald. And Donald Comet outclasses Tron's limit. So, yeah. I think Tron is just, he's not as good as Donald and Goofy. Donald and Goofy give drive forms, they give better limits. Setup is good. Like, setup is good. He's definitely not bad. He's definitely at least B. Probably better than Pan. because setup gives a lot of iframes. It does pretty good damage. It's good for the fight, the main fight you would want it for, which is like hostile program, but it's also like kind of good for Solar Sailor fight and some of those like second visit mob fights. He's not very good against MCP at all. You need to use him in your party to do the reaction command against MCP, which is kind of annoying as well. So yeah, I think Tron is just average. Kinoatsu Simba. Kinoatsu Simba is very strong. He's at least top of B. I think he's better than Oren. I think he is really good. His limit, I think he's worse than Goofy. I think his limit is really strong, right? Which is like the main reason. But he's also just a good party member. I think he does good damage. Yeah, I think he belongs in A. I think he's above average. Okay, Kinoatsu Riku. Okay, this one, he's S tier. He's better than Jack. He might be better than Beast, actually. Yeah, he's definitely S tier. The thing about Riku... Gosh, this is very top heavy. The thing about Riku that makes him so good is that he has heals, which already put him above average. And then he has Session on top of that. So, good offense, good support. Session is game changing. Like it's completely fight changing. It's so powerful. Like that on top of the fact that he heals you. Like come on. Riku is easily S tier. Like Session is so strong. It's good in mob fights, it's good in boss fights. Yeah. He's such an impactful and useful party member. You gotta put him in S tier. Kingdom Hearts Free Time. I think Kingdom Hearts Free probably has the weakest party members in the series. Starting with Kingdom Hearts Free Goofy. He's definitely not above average. He's probably C tier actually. Yeah, it feels like Goofy Tornado just gets worse and worse throughout the series. Like Kingdom Hearts 1 Goofy Tornado is OP. Kingdom Hearts 2 Goofy Tornado is like pretty good. Like it has its uses in some fights, like Demyx Zaldin. Demyx Zigbar, sorry. And then like there's Goofy Tornado and Kingdom Hearts Free, and it's just so underwhelming, and it just doesn't help. Like it's kind of no, it's not good. Like I want to say it's like kind of good crowd control early game, but it's not. It's just bad. The only really good thing about Goofy and Kingdom Hearts Free is the fact that he gets like Harvester and Lucky Strike, which are just like utility abilities and not really, you know, a testament to his strength in combat. I think the other thing too is his situation commands. Trinity God is only really good for one fight. Like, let's be real. And then Goofy Bombardier is pretty bad as well. Like, Goofy Bombardier is good. It's definitely... It's not the worst situation command in the game, but it's also not that good. So, yeah, I think Goofy's definitely below average. I think he's C tier. Kingdom Hearts Free Donald. Donald heals. Like, I mean, you can't really... you can't really understate the supportive power of a heal. And Donald definitely heals. Kingdom Hearts Free Donald's actually really good, though, to be fair. I actually think he's better than Kingdom Hearts 1 Donald, because he has two of the best situation commands in the game. Donald Meteor is absolutely OP. Like, it's fight changing. It does so much damage. Flare Force is also so strong. Yeah, both his team attacks are so strong. He heals. His magic's like kind of good, I guess. He can freeze stuff with Blizzard. I think he's better than Kingdom Hearts 1 Donald as a party member. He's probably better than Aladdin, just because, yeah, both his team attacks are really good, and then His magic's good. He's just good. I think he belongs like somewhat here. Dude, A tier is just so inflated. I could probably bring some of these guys down into average. Okay, Hercules. Kingdom Hearts 3 Hercules. I think he's like the top of average. I think Hercules is good. Like he's one of the better party members in Kingdom Hearts 3. You don't have a lot of crowd control options in Kingdom Hearts 3, similarly to Kingdom Hearts 1. And there's a shit ton of mob fights in Kingdom Hearts 3. So Hercules' attack that kind of pulls all the enemies in and then does a big burst of damage is actually really good, in my opinion. It's very helpful, very useful. His team attack, Heroic Swing, is good for really every fight you have it for. It's good for Dual Titans, it's good for Tornado Titan. It's a really good team attack. See, I think Hercules ends up at the top of average. He's pretty good, but he's not like so impactful like these guys who can be like, these guys are so impactful. Hercules is kind of like, he's good, but he's not like these guys. Alright, so Buzz I think is bad. I think he's below average for sure. We can bring Woody in here too. His team attack with Woody is just a bad team attack. It's one of the worst in the game. I mean, there are worse ones in Kingdom Hearts 3, but it's one of the worst for sure. I think, like, yeah, here's the problem with Buzz and Woody. The toy box itself as a world is very mecha. Like mecha is the strongest thing you can do in that world. Like getting into mechs and using the mechs. And in that case, because that's your strongest strategy, Buzz and Woody are kind of obsolete. They're just not strong enough to compete with the mechas. And then they're just not useful in a lot of the fights you have them for. They're just not useful. They're just bad. I think they don't take up party member slots in Kingdom Hearts 3, so you can have Donald and Goofy and them. And they still suck. Like, it's like they're not detrimental, obviously, but they're definitely C tier in my opinion. Both of them are bad. Moving on to more underwhelming party members. Rapunzel and Flynn. What do they actually do? Like, nothing. They're not impactful. They're both C tier. Their team attack is actually the worst. I think it's actually the worst team attack. Actually, I guess Mike's. We'll get to that. I think they're probably F, honestly, just because you can accidentally use their team attack. Like, their team attack can pop up, and you can accidentally use it, and that's very annoying because it's bad and it doesn't do anything. I just think they're so bad. Buzz and Woody are also so bad, but like, they don't do anything. They don't have the excuses that Buzz and Woody have. Buzz and Woody, like, their world is very mecha dominated. So they're not supposed to have like a big impact. These two, like, they should help out more. They should help in the chariot fight. They should help in a lot of fights, and they don't. So I think they're F tier. Moving on, these guys are not F tier. These guys they're at least average. Sully, I think, is average. Mike, I actually think, is A. So I'll explain. Sully has some pretty good damage. His leaps and his pounces, pretty good area damage. It's like pretty average. I think he's probably not as good as Hercules. Just because his team attack with Sully, I mean, his team attack with Mike sucks. It is one of the worst in the game. It's really bad, but he does good damage. He's a good powerhouse party member. He's useful. He's impactful. He's impactful in like all of the mob fights. Yeah, there's so many mob fights in Monstropolis where Sully actually does damage, and that's pretty good. Mike actually is so much better though. Mike is maybe even better than Oren. Maybe better than. I think he might be like just below Kingdom Hearts 1 Donald. To explain, Mikey is a super good support. Actually, I think one of the best support party members in the series. He has a move that buffs his party members, which is super good. And he has a move that CCs, like it crowd controls, nearby enemies, which is also really good. He's very impactful. He's a really good party member. He's definitely above average, especially by Kingdom Hearts 3 standards. Kingdom Hearts 3 has bad party members, in my opinion, like the worst of the series. We haven't put any in S tier yet, and I don't think we're going to. But I think Mike is the best party member in Kingdom Hearts 3. Honestly, I think he's better than Donald. I think he's really good as a support. I think he's better than Donald. Alright, so moving on, we have Marshmallow. Marshmallow is difficult to rank because he's actually pretty strong, honestly. But you only have him for like one fight. Which is a fight he's not even that, he's like kind of good in, I guess, but like not super. He's kind of underwhelming. His team attacks are good, and they're good for the fight. I think he's like top of average, probably. I don't know. He's definitely better than Sully offensively. He offers nothing supportive, really. Yeah, he's just like, he's a really good offensive party member. I think he's the best damage dealing party member in Kingdom Hearts 3 in terms of just attacking the enemy and just hitting them. He has good team attacks. I think he's good, but I think he's not amazing. Like, he's definitely not above average. Alright, moving on to Jack from Kingdom Hearts 3. Jack from Kingdom Hearts 3. I think he's also F. I think Jack is just bad, dude. His team attack is actually not horrible, but by the time you have access to Jack, you already have stuff like, you know, if you've built your Sora correctly, you just have stuff that outclasses it. Like, you know, like Thunder Spam, summons, are just better. Yeah, his Jack is just not good. He's also kind of detrimental, which is why I have him in F. I think he's probably better than these two, maybe, just because his team attack is not as bad. But, like, in terms of, I don't know, the thing about Jack is that, you know, a lot of us put him to hands off, because, for Davy Jones, like, the one boss fight you have him for is Davy Jones, and a lot of us just put him to hands off for that fight, because he can mess the fight up a lot by attacking Davy Jones and messing with his revenge value and forcing some retaliations. So, like, the one fight we have him for, we prefer him to just not do anything, which is kind of the same way we feel about, like, Peter Pan, and I think, who else did I say that about? Oh yeah, Aladdin in Kingdom Hearts 2 Agrabah. Kingdom Hearts 3 Jack, it's like he does more harm than he does good, and he's not very helpful, not very impactful. So yeah, he's F tier. Baymax is actually above average. So many A tier people. Alright, here's why Baymax is above average. He has a heal. Need I say more? Any party member with a heal is automatically above average. Hey, this is how I feel, honestly. I think all of these are deserving of A tier. Baymax, you know, all he does is, like, just the fact alone, I think he's actually worse than Oren, to be honest. But, like, just the fact alone that he heals puts him above average. Any party member that can heal you is just good. Is just a good party member, because they're at least going to be useful in some way. They're at least going to have some impact. And, like, you can trust Baymax to heal you. So, yeah, that's why. His team attack is pretty garbage, but he heals, so he's the bottom of A tier. We have, like, one of the best heal bots at the top of A tier, and then, like, one of the, like, most meh heal bots at the bottom of A tier. That's also partially because healing in Kingdom Hearts 3 works very differently. Baymax heals once and then he's out of MP. It's like, it is what it is. I don't know why I have a Goofy here, but this is the tier list. I think Kingdom Hearts 2 Donald is the top of S. I think the bottom of F is ping for sure. I think this makes sense. This is how I would tier list them. This is how I think they are in terms of how useful they are, how good, how powerful, how impactful. I think this is pretty fair to every party member in the series. These guys in S tier are super game breaking, like incredibly strong. These guys in A tier are very good party members. B, they're like meh, they're like whatever. They're good, but they're not super impactful. These guys are pretty bad. These guys are even worse. So yeah, that's how I feel about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Catch me on Twitch if you want to see some cool RPG challenge runs. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!